Well, let me tell you a little something about me. When it's Saturday night, I need to blow off some steam. One, two, three, four. Well, I've been holding it in since the clock came Monday morning. From the end of the week, I'm bound to blow. We're walking to the honky tonk like a pack of wolves now. Order of a round of drops and it's away we go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Equipment Talk from iRay. And we have a special guest back on today, and it's Troy Henry from Brad Software. And we're going to talk to him a little bit about, the auction industry, because we're in the auction industry, of course, and how they've perceived it. Actually, Troy, you took a trip down to the National Auctioneers Convention.
Yeah, I went to the IAC, the International Auctioneer Convention.
International. All right. Sorry. That's where they come from all over the world, huh?
Yes, sir. Some from England, some from South America. They're from all over Canada.
Wow, nice. And so when you were there to you're doing a show on software, or as far as what were you doing when you went down there to the event? What did you try to, get across, and what were you kind of doing, I guess? Why don't you talk to a little bit about that?
Well, I went out there to showcase Brad Software and to let the auction public of auctioneers know what our set of availabilities and capabilities are. Give them comparison. This was the first one that I've gone to with so many bidding platforms.
How many bidding platforms were down there?
I couldn't give an honest answer only because I lost.
Was there
count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7?
14 to
14?
14 to 18, something like that.
Wow, they must have become all over the world with them, huh?
They came from all over. Yeah, I remember one from Canada. There was some from the South. They were from all over. And it was a combination of, they were doing the benefit.
Towards benefit auction?
At that time too. So there was benefit bidding platforms too.
Oh, nice. I suppose that now, would auctioneers own that platform, or would the associations and the benefits own them platforms?
I believe that they tried to characterize them more, or cater them more to the benefits, the foundations themselves.
So the business that was handling the foundations would rent the platforms or own the platforms?
I suppose more often than not, they probably rent them.
Okay, so they're renting the platforms, and as far as the perception on how these platforms work, we've had a lot of platforms that we have had here with iRay, and we find that the programmers program them more towards the programmers programming, of course, and not that they don't work and you can't utilize them, but we could never buy one. We always had to rent it, and and that was a little bit. You kind of put everything into the other person's hands that you're renting it from, right? It's like, your phone never goes glitch, does it? And then you got updates as well.
Well, right. And there was, nobody's there to sell except for I was there to sell, and I wasn't very well received by the others because it's
What others? You mean the guys that were buying, or the guys that were
vendors, the other vendors,
the other people that were renting? Yeah, because they felt that you were going to take their renters away, maybe a little bit, huh?
I don't know. Perhaps. It's kind of what you were alluding to a little bit a minute ago. Is there's a certain safety net, I think, to some of these people.
So let me ask you a question. Now, did you get to see how some of these platforms work that are out there? It's been always a big question of mine, is that, is there a platform that is designed for business, or is the business platform designed strictly for bid calling? Or even a soft close? Or
they set them up for both timed soft close or live simulcast. I only got to see a couple because when I'd go walking around, it seemed like some of them got shut down. I don't blame anybody. I understand, but
Oh, they felt that you were going to look at their programs or something and maybe think you had something better that you could take from them or use it against them or whatever, huh?
I think it's part of just the trade and being there that you're a little nervous or apprehensive of other people seeing what it is that you have to offer, just
Oh,
in case they want to try to duplicate what it is that you have.
okay. Yeah, well, that happens. I mean, everybody's afraid of losing something, right? And
Right.
it's fear that drives the people. It's not, you know what I mean? It's fear of somebody turning around and not treating you good, or it's fear of somebody turning around and treating you bad, or really telling you that, hey, you got a kind of a pile of poop there or whatever, right?
Well, in I'm trying to think how to state this. It seems like in the auction industry is very fear driven, um, because this industry, it once again what you were saying before, more often than not, the programmers, nothing against the programmers, but more often than not, they don't have an auction background. They're kind of trying to be instructed by somebody who's been in the industry, but I don't know that they get enough information a lot of times, and or if they do, that they try to cater to a particular style more than another, and I feel like you just kind of start excluding people from the availability. And teach their own. All these platforms are out there; they're all going to service somebody, but
But how well it's going to do it, right?
exactly.
So, okay, so now you went there and you had a lot of vendors that probably weren't really happy with what you were telling them or what you were saying, or maybe what you were offering. Were you offering much more than what they were? I mean, to the customers that maybe made you different, or what holds you apart from other, vendors such as yourself? Because end of the day, you're both vendors, right? And
Correct.
and you both have programs. And what sets you apart from the other vendors out there that are working in the industry today?
Well, you're right. We're all there to offer a service. Ours is set apart, I feel, and maybe it's just the pride in what it is that we've developed, but I believe that everything about us sets us apart from the self-hosted self. It's up to you. We don't want your data. And I keep telling when they're at the table, they're like, well, what are you going to do with our data? I was like, if I could get away with not getting your name and phone number, I would do that. I said, make it really hard to get back to you. But if that's the only piece of information of yours that I want.
Mhm.
Other than that, I don't want your contacts. I don't want your sales percentages. I don't want any of that. I want you to operate your business in a fashion that you know how to do because you've come this far. I don't want to handcuff you. I don't want to tell you what you can or can't do. I don't want to try to put you inside of a box. I want to do just the opposite. I want to put you on top of that box and see how high you can jump.
So, do you feel that when you talk to a new client and they're used to somebody else kind of baby spoon feeding them and doing the work for them, do you feel that you have to bring them in and really kind of run them through the do's and don'ts of a program when they have to run their own or have their own programs? Because there's a little more to it, right? Because the other guy, he's housing the program, now they're going to house it, or maybe the cloud will, right? And then what about the just the overall operations of it, knowing, do you need a domain name? Do you need, what do you need to do to make sure that you can operate and have a fallback if something did go wrong, right?
Well, your domain and those sorts of things are kind of the simplistic beginning of it. But yes, to answer your question, yes, they're nervous of feeling as though they always had help along the way. But a bit of the problem with that perception is that you, for the most part, you never really needed their help. Like, and I say that in a multiple ways. For example, I kept seeing this place that would advertise that come be with us and use all of our bidders or all of our buyers, and it's like, well, that's false advertisement. It doesn't work like that.
Why don't you think that a bidder is going to come to their platform, or don't you
No.
think that
A bidder almost never looks for an auction platform. Realistically, they almost never look for an auction yard. They're looking for an item. And if you have that item, they find you. If you don't have that item, then obviously you're not going to come up in their search. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, they're not looking for those individuals. Now, to get a little bit farther, I think to what you're talking about with the assistance through the bidding, like through clerking and different things like that. Yeah, I do believe that initial change makes them apprehensive. But it's also because I believe that they've never had a clerking platform that is simple enough that I don't want to take away from the people who do clerking, but it's simple enough that almost anybody can do it as long as you've given yourself a minute to learn it. Because unless you've learned it priorly, I mean, unless you've learned what you're doing, it's almost impossible to do something. you've
Well,
never
I
done.
know that a lot of times, in auctions, and we were before even, let's say, before the internet come on, and I mean, yeah, I'm that old. Don't want to tell everybody I'm that old, but yeah, I am. We'd write it with the hand, write it down, and people made mistakes. I mean, somebody started talking. Oh, how much was that one again? And that's what happens sometimes. So you really do have to pay attention. And you're right. I think that the one and done is kind of nice because I mean, I've seen how things have changed through the internet. And even like online when people are bidding, the clerk itself puts in the increment, right?
Mhm.
The bid itself comes from they put the bidding number or amount that you're asking for, and then if somebody bids, it goes up in those increments. And if the auctioneer is asking for a little less, then you lessen the increment, right?
Yep.
So you're not really clerking as much as you used to because the system's clerking for you.
Right.
You're basically running your platform, and I know that, when we got away from writing it, we had as a clerking platform that we just put a battery in there and we had a little green screen and, okay, I know I'm telling my age again.
Wow.
And, it was DOS. That was the first of them all. And anyways, they'd push it along and then the clerk, I'd tell them, pay attention here, and then we'd be auctioning and we'd look down at the clerk and made sure that they knew it when you said sold and the number. So that way that we made sure that it was going right all the time. And we also use the ringmans out there to make sure that as far as remember number, tell them if that's the case, because we're going to keep moving forward here. So, so I get that.
Well, I still remember the slip and box. So it's
Slip and box.
fill out that slip, put it in the box. Slip, put it in the box.
Oh, you mean at the end?
The bidding. That's with the bidders and that's how you kept track of what your bidders had bought. I mean,
Well, you'd put bidders in. So let's say that if it was number 7, you'd put it in number 07, right? And
right. I'm just saying that there's a long process that has come from, in that each time it seems like it gets a little easier, a little more simple, a little more simple. And now we've tried to develop software where it's easy enough and simple enough for the input of that item. And then we try to make it so that it's simplified all the way through, even to your bidding and clerking, that it's not, give it a chance. It's not as overwhelming as you think it is.
Well, the nice thing about it is, and I know this is, because we're utilizing the platform. I mean, we'll have the fullest of it when you guys are done with that part of it. But the point is that I know that our customers, ours, can load up their own items, and they can go to contact us, and they can say the file number is such and such, and I put such and such in it. Could you look at this and tell me what it's worth, or put it on this auction? And they send it. I don't even get to talk to them, and then I can call them up, or otherwise I can just text them back, or however they want to communicate. And it works really nice because they can load the photos, they can load video, they can load all the descriptions, because who knows their equipment better than them, anyways, right?
Well, that's what we feel.
And then the other piece of it, once we have them, then what we can do is that we can share them items as well, right in the system. It's cool as heck. I can send it to you, and then you could send it to 20 of your friends pretty easily because you can share it as well. And I just think that the features are phenomenal. I think they make it easy. I think it makes our job easier. Let's put it that way. And I know that's what it's all about. I get that. So anyways, back to you going out to the convention. Did you have people from Mexico?
I do remember seeing, I can't remember any specific names, but I do remember seeing some from Mexico.
Because Spanish is huge, and they love going to auctions and everything else, because I know that I went to school and, I didn't learn a whole bunch right away, but I knew that, but 1,000 was uno mil, right? So I'd be 1,001, uno mil, 1,002, dos mil, 2,002, dos mil, 3,003, tres mil, 3,003. And that's how we communicated with the Mexicans, and they would know exactly what you were saying, and they would be bidding away. So that was kind of cool. But I know that they're really into auctions and everything else. But you said that there wasn't a lot of people from, you're in California, right?
Yeah, we're in California. And
Okay.
it was that was a different experience in itself too. But I don't remember. I only remember seeing a couple, and I didn't get a chance to talk to them.
But you didn't brush up on your Spanish? Is that the deal?
No, not enough. Which going to San Diego might have been a good idea. But I did get, like I said, I got to talk to from other countries, and it was interesting both to see their enthusiasm for the auction industry, and but the different ways of going about it as well.
So when you talk to the people out there, what kind of things are they looking for in the industry, in the auction industry? I know, because the auctioneers, it's a big industry, and cars get sold at auction, equipment gets sold at auction, heck, pots and pans get sold at auction, and that you got eBays, and you've got hundreds of different platforms that are selling at auction, and I would think that at a international auctioneers convention, you would see a lot of those kinds of people, or even those kinds of so they'd keep up with the industry. Do you see that in that, or what do you see there?
The largest thing that I saw was the online movement. There's a lot of that they're switching away from live bid calling and moving just to online timed auctions. Which is to each their own, and that's if that's what the way that you want to suit your business,
it's probably an easier deal.
That too, and not being able to be in front of a crowd, I think makes a difference too. Being able to have an item viewable and biddable for a little bit longer period of time makes a difference.
Well, I have I have some reservedness to both of that as well. I'm a third generation auctioneer, so when it comes down to bid calling, that's kind of what I like to do. So my preference on it is doing basically run that auction till the morning of, for so you can have a pre-bid. And we just call it the pre-bid being opened on up till, let's say 7 o'clock if you got an 8 o'clock auction, and then roll it into the 8 o'clock, auction.
The live sale, yep.
In the live auction. Well, it's a live simulcast is what it is.
Right.
And it's not necessarily live with people standing out there, but it's live bid calling. And I think that in more ways than none, you're going to see that auctioneers out there, that you would see yourself getting a little more money for your sellers on the simulcast. And why? Because you may be able to, say something that might help your seller, because maybe something about it, or that, that you could feed into it just a little bit. And that human interaction, I think, gives you a lot more than just pushing a button. Now, let me ask you this. Do you feel that the ones that are moving to that, and let's say that they never had an auction background, they're just in a business, right? So do you think, are they really auctioneers, or are they running an auction platform?
Ooh, I got asked this question before too, and that's a loaded question.
Well, I mean, you could have an auctioneer doing it, right?
You're going to have somebody offended either way.
Oh, so you don't want me to ask you that question?
Well, the reality is
if you don't want to hear it, plug your ears now. Plug them now.
I mean, if I grew up also believing that bid calling is what
defines you
as an auctioneer.
Okay.
And I also believe that is just a lens of looking at auctions. But there's also the laws that entail it. If you're running a soft closed or a timed auction, I'm pretty sure most laws have no regulation as if you have to be a certified auctioneer or not to run that sale.
So you don't have to be an auctioneer. You just have to have somebody that follows the laws, right?
Right.
And if you're selling it online and nobody's going to be there, so you're selling it all online, and you're giving them all the instructions on, on what they can or can't do, or agreements to what they can or can't do, and they accept those terms and conditions, right? Then basically you're selling online.
Well, right. And as far as our direction, I mean, we sell you the software, but you still have to follow the legal guidelines of which,
Like
until
taxes and insurance and
and
stuff
if
like
you're
that.
even once touching back to if you're not a certified or a licensed auctioneer, and in that state you can't do live bid calling, not being a certified auctioneer, then we would hold you to that law that you
How
can't.
would no? We can't.
Which I don't know how Brad would hold you to that law, but I mean, we would expect you to fall within your state's guidelines.
Yeah, well, that's taxes and all that kind of stuff. You're going to still be responsible as a business, right?
Well, right.
And as far as if you want to have somebody else bid call it and you're in a business, I think that even like in the cattle industry, if you go to a business and you call, I don't know that you have to be a licensed auctioneer for that. I think that that if you're working under an auctioneer. So here in Minnesota, this is the way it reads: is that I'm a licensed auctioneer, right? So I'm licensed, bonded, insured, and if I had, let's say, another person come in, for example, that wasn't licensed, bonded, or insured, and they were bid calling at my location under my directive, let's say, that's legal. They can do that.
Okay.
As long as they're not on the auction flyer. If you're mailing on a flyer, there's a difference. Online only, you're not sending out flyers. If you send out flyers, you need you need to have stated that you're gonna, your auctioneer's license and everything else too. On an auction is what they're saying. Now, if it's not live, I'm not sure exactly, and I say not live where people are there at the auction, it was strictly online, that may differ. You may not have to for that particular reason.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been
But each state's going to have
educated
different
on all the
laws.
on all
Yeah.
of the state's laws. We leave that respectively to the auctioneer, because we believe that the auctioneer is an intelligent individual.
Well, they're going to check on their laws, because if they're going to, and that's another thing too for you people out there, that if you're going to run a platform, or if you want to run a platform and you want to have your own auction, you can do that. I mean, there's no law stating you can't do that. But one thing I'd keep in mind is that you're still going to have inner laws between states for taxes. And then you're going to have also other things that you're going to have to look at as a business, point of view. So that's what I would make sure that I put that down on a piece of paper and keep in front of me when I was booking auctions or booking things into the auction. So let's say that if I left your unit, in your yard in Wisconsin, and you had a county tax, a city tax, and you had a state tax, plus you're going to have maybe a Coliseum tax. So you got 4 different taxes that you got to make sure that are within that item, right?
Yep.
So again, it's in his yard. You sold it online, but you still got to collect the taxes for those regions.
Correct. We'd still have to collect the proper taxation.
Yeah. So, there's a lot to it, but now your system is programmed. You can program to do all those taxes?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that piece there is huge, because when you can do that, I mean, in time, do you think that'll be something that'll be searchable, or that'll be auto-fillable depending upon states and stuff like that? Or what's your thoughts there?
Well, I have two answers for that question. My first answer is that I want to create an auto drop.
But right now, what
Or-
would you recommend for something like that? If somebody had the program, they're going to utilize it, and you don't have the auto drop yet. I mean, I know that that's something you're going to work on, but what would you recommend to them to do there in that incident?
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to give the harder answer. I would do my due diligence to make sure that I knew what they were firsthand,
Okay.
and then I would enter them in. And I say that respectively because you're alluding to my second answer. My second answer is that if you know these codes and you put them in to begin with, we had built artificial inference into the program so that it will do learning. It will learn what it is that when a file is, or say a tax code, when it's connected to this region, and this is what's happening. it's either if it's tax, it's some sort of farm tractor where it should be tax exempt, it would kind of come automatic for it because it knows it. It's read it. It already knows what's coming.
Okay.
So it's not gonna be there. You're the first week, 3 weeks or such, but as it learns how it is that you operate and what it is that
So you're saying it'll hold that information so that when you go back to
retain it
that
for
state or
reference
county,
next
then
time.
it'll be in there for reference.
Yep.
Okay, cool. The other thing too, Troy, I know that you talk to other people from Canada and from all over the place. How is how is the auctions working in their world? Did you really get into any of that on how the economy is in some of these other countries and stuff too, and how their stuff has been working? Or
I did ask, and I'd asked a few industries as well. That everywhere I've talked right now, auctions are still as strong as they've been, and I've talked to the benefit field that their auctions are still as strong as they've ever been. So there's a couple places where the industries that are starting to take, I don't want to call them hits, but they're plateauing.
they
They're
get
not as
lulls in 'em?
steady a climb as it used to be. Um, I learned a lot of statistical numbers this week, and I thought they were fairly interesting. Um, semis are kind of they've semis and trailers, they've plateaued. They're starting to come down a little bit. Same with heavy equipment. That's plateaued. It's kind of starting to come down a little bit.
Well, I know that it's older stuff, new stuff. It's not. I mean, if you had it, if it's within, say 1,100 hours and less, and it's within a 4 and 5 year, window, they haven't dropped.
Well,
Right.
they're okay, but the steady climb, the extreme climb that was taking place before, is inarguably stopping. It's not,
It's holding.
call it what you will. But the other industries is they're starting to have the same trend, and those conversations that I'd had taken place while I was there of helping, trying to figure out ways to help the average individual realize that the retail market is set by auction value. Or I'm sorry, the remarket value is set by auction value, and that the majority of the world doesn't understand that. I'm not exactly sure where the rest of the world thinks that we get that value from, but helping the auctioneer to be able to get that, to be able to make that value is what we're here for.
Mhm.
Those industries are, I always say they're nickel and dined by the platforms of the industry, and that's,
Because they're so readily available. Is that kind of the deal?
well, it's, the auctioneer is viewed as as a profitable individual, whether, and it just depends on what it is that they're choosing to sell or to auction. And too often it seems like the platforms want to try to just get as much of that as they can. And that was one of the things I'm going to jump back to when I was at the IAC is you'd asked what's different about us. And one of the things that I made very well known is that, we actually, Brad is based out of an auction background. It's not just built for auctioneers. It's built by auctioneers for auctioneers. It's not, we genuinely care about the auctioneer and the auction industry, and it's moving forward. And the only way we believe that is going to happen is that we've got to be able to put the auctioneers on a level playing ground. That when you're on the same platforms, it's left up to the auctioneer's ability, their marketable abilities, their personable abilities, and the way that they choose to go about their business. When you try to add different parts to the equation, and then you get, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but to use subpar performing platforms, then you're already not on a level playing field. And then there's so many of them out there, and to watch the way that some of them are built. And
So you don't think that a newcomer comes in and he gets on a platform that somebody's been doing it for 15 years or 10 years, and he's helped build how many people in that platform, you don't feel that's going to increase his success rate? Or do you feel that the items that he gets is going to do it all?
I think that it's going to maintain. It's still going to come down to how you built your site and the way that you built the backlinks to that site. Because if you're in for 15 years, you're going to have a different understanding of what it takes to get the noticeability.
Right, but I'm looking at the young guy that just come into it. You know what I mean?
Right. I guess you think that young guy is looking to that platform to help them out?
Well, I'm just saying that if let's say that there is a platform out there that they had a bunch of people in it, right? Because the guy that's been there 15 years, he paid for advertising on it, so he's got people in there. Isn't that the way it works? So let's say the database.
So for some reason
We've got a database of 35,000.
Okay.
So if somebody came in and wanted to, use our database, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that would increase their chances of being successful?
It would give you more email contacts, I guess. But what realistically, you can go and buy those lists, and then I don't have to worry. Then there's no worries of somebody taking whatever data you might already have.
Yeah,
I guess I'm more on the end of.
So you in your perspective, you would, instead of going on a platform that somebody's going to rent to you, and you said before, you're selling the items, not the company, the platform,
yeah.
right? So the items are going to sell you as far as coming to you, right?
Right.
The other piece of it is, how do you market? Now, do you okay? So in your platform, you have a marketing, right?
Yeah, we have marketable parts. Yep.
And do you have it so that people that are new to it can really kind of have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step through so that they can be successful? Or do you kind of let them run as they will?
Oh, we give tutorials. We give recommendations. We give, we see what works in the market. We're going to give recommendations through. I mean, and it'll come whether you want it weekly, bi-weekly, however you wish to get some sort of updates. But there's nothing about this platform that is sink or swim. It's not. No, we want to see you succeed, and there's tutorials through basically everything.
So maybe even a lot of the other companies don't know some of these things that that are embedded into the platform. Is that where you're getting at? And then as far as, like we know as far as auctioneers that, hey, so many weeks before we have to let people know that there's an auction coming up. And so many days before, we got to let them know what items are on that auction. And then so many hours or whatever before, you got to tell them when that thing's going to quit or whatever. So that's all kind of embedded in there so that people can, it kind of helps them with that. Or how does that work?
I mean, if you like some sort of marketing outline, that can be in there. Yes, you can have a rudimentary outline if you'd wish. But once again, it caters to the way that individual auction company wants to run. I feel like a first year is going to be, they're not going to quite be as ambitious to get into it as deeply as, say, if you're multi-generational. Even your first year as a multi-generational, you're still going to have a leg up on that first year that you're just referring.
Oh, I know. My first year is almost $500,000.
But being able... And I say that also because you have a first year of jumping in and trying to fully understand and raise their marketing to its highest of abilities is difficult to do because there's so much that you're trying to understand and learn and bring forward.
Yeah, because I went to some classes and stuff, and they kind of said that, when you start using organic, and organic is just content that tells about maybe different types of units that you have, or different types of experience you have, or different things that really would attract the audience you're looking for, right? And it pulls it to your site or to you, which is basically kind of describes who you are. And with that, they said it's 53% of your business was the organics.
For most, yeah.
So The rest of the rest of it is once you have that audience, the rest is basically getting the audience to recognize what you have.
Well, it's maintaining that audience after you've acquired them by the organics. Yeah. Um, there's a lot of marketable pursuits, and organics are going to be your most reliable. That's just getting basically just another way of saying to get people to talk about you for you.
Oh, they're sharing you.
Instead of you trying to pay money to gain that exposure.
So with Brad, how are you getting people to talk about you? I mean, comparably to the other companies out there that feel that they're, in the same, that they have bidding platforms. They probably don't have all the options you've got, right? But they do have bidding platforms. So what makes people talk about you versus them?
It seems like there's a few answers to that question. One of them is that we humbly want to help the auctioneer have a more successful business. Two is that we generally do care about the auctioneer, and they see that we're there for them. That seemed to be a huge thing that was received, because to us, you're not just another auctioneer. You're not just another place. Well, yeah, I just didn't
You're
want
not
to say
just
that.
another number.
You're not.
Well, an auctioneer, you're going to be a bidder number, so you're another number.
To us, you're not just a form of reoccurring revenue, because you're not reoccurring revenue to us. You buy that platform, and then not that you're just done, but we're not looking. We're not looking to take more from you.
So, but I mean, you're going to keep developing, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay, so if you develop, are you going to offer them new features to their platforms and stuff like this?
Absolutely. Anything that we have available will be available to them.
So it'll be like a car. You could add on some new hubcaps or maybe some beauty rims or put some chrome wheels on her, huh?
Oh yeah, and that's another reason why we seem to be happily received, is that even if you have to start out at what we're going to call a lower level, and that I encourage you to do as much as you can with that business, and then once you need more, you can absolutely add on more. You're not locked into this position. The growth is something that we look for.
So you have different levels of the business platform that people can purchase. And what would be the difference between, like, say, the lower level and the higher level? And I don't mean dollar-wise. I mean usability. What would you want? What would you need to have to get into the highest level? What kind of company would do that versus the person that's mom and pop, let's say, okay?
If you're going to have our highest level, we'll just jump there. You are going to be an auction company that has a few has more than a couple locations. B, that you will have a marketplace or an outside sales lot that you put stuff on otherwise, and then you're going to have the all of our capabilities, whether they be for the communication boards between your employees, which a couple of them are just that, is communication. But then you're also going to have, sorry, my mind got overwhelmed just for a second with all of our.
Well, you're saying auctions, but I know that you're talking about even equipment companies could buy a platform, right? That they don't have to be an auction company, because you have an e-commerce platform that goes in it with it.
Oh, yes, I'm just in reference because we're talking about auctions right now, but as far as computer programs or capabilities and those sorts of what we facilitate, we try to facilitate just about anything. And one of the things I'm excited about as well is our machine learning, and looking forward to getting into the manufacturing industry as well.
Okay. So now, as far as when you were, let's go back again to California, because we were talking about that first, and how you were perceived and how things went for you and so on and so forth. And you said the other vendors weren't real, grateful that you were there, because you kind of probably put a little wrench in their cog, and how they think things should be. And you feel that, in the newer generation and the grasping of technology, we see that, Elon Musk, right? He goes out and he bought $10 billion he paid Microsoft towards a quantum computer. It still isn't up and running, but the theory is working, but it's not at full development yet. And he's already put 10 billion into it. So is that the forward thinking that you're talking about, being that you're ready for the next stage or the next jump in the economy where you can stay ahead of it? How long is your program going to last that customer once they purchase it? That's the key, because it says, you get a phone, it's every 3 years.
I can't give an exact answer on that, but we believe that we've developed it to work through Web3. And what you're referring to with the quantum is once that is able to be instituted, they're going to refer to that as Web 4, and it's hard to test that because
we don't have
it. But we believe that we tried to anticipate what could be necessary.
So you're saying when that does come, that you'll have an answer.
Well, we're going to find the answer.
You'll find the answer. Yeah, I guess if you believe it, you can make it,
Yep.
And really nothing can stop you. The people with the faith and the power, it's in their hands. So that's awesome. Is there anything you want to tell the audience that, about Brad or about the conference and show that really, made you feel that you were well receptive from there?
Yeah. What made me feel like that I was in the right place, it had a lot to do with everything was tech centered, which a few of the other conventions, I've been to a few of the state conventions as well, and they were going to that movement, but they hadn't really rested there yet. Here, having almost all bidding platforms, and to see the competition, not necessarily a reference of my own, but the competition between those other platforms, and then also the way that each one's a little bit different. That it was a combination of comforting to see that there were a lot of people that are trying to forward the industry. I was comforted by the amount of people that realized that they need to own their own data. That they're starting to understand that realistically, that is all your company has.
So really, if you're going to sell your business and you don't have any data, and somebody else sells all your data, what do you have, right?
If you don't have your data, unfortunately, you really don't have anything. You've got brick and mortar, and that's it. And that's hopefully then you're not just online, because you're just online and you don't have your contacts list, then you literally have nothing.
Well, let's say that it's in the platform, right?
Well, yes, but if you don't, when you're selling your company, you're selling the profits that you've made from the past. Those profits that you made from the past are from your contact lists. So I mean, if you don't have your contacts and you're on a platform where that platform owns your contacts, even though we don't. It's when something happens and then they've got it back. Well, they've got all of your contacts. They've got them all. So you
lose that.
Having any sort of third party interference, you lose.
Yeah. So okay, let's walk through this. For the auction industry, you have a customer relationship management system, so CRM, right?
Yep.
And you have an online e-commerce, right?
Yep.
You have it. So you have a clerking, a load up platform for individuals as customers and as the staff, correct?
Yep.
And that's pictures, everything.
Descriptions, photos, videos.
And then you have it where you have a clerking system that's right behind the scenes for the auction company to run their platform. If they want to go to we'll call it a soft close because you're not doing anything there, or then we'll call it a pre-bidding before the auction. Then you have a simulcast, so the auctioneer can live bid call it in with his clients on board that maybe didn't put a max bid in, but they wanted to participate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
And then as far as appraisals, do you offer appraisals for each one of them? So let's say that somebody wants to do an appraisal business in there. You offer that in the platform as well?
Yes, sir.
And what about, is there anything else that we're missing that you would have in that platform other than you do offer it so they can actually load up a credit card, but it doesn't run through the company there. It runs through the company that they have the credit card system with.
Correct.
Correct? so that they could load a credit card up and do a credit card and get credit card, and you'd be okayed, and boom, boom, it goes to your account, right?
Right. Yeah. Or we just offer the portal. The company, the credit company,
Yeah.
does the rest.
Yeah, because you wouldn't want to, you're not
wanna
licensed to
retain
that
that
anyway, so
information.
you don't want to retain their information that way.
Right.
So what, is there anything else in there that you, I mean, I know that you can add on many other things in the background for the company, because I know you guys do analytics. I know that you've got a bunch of other things in there that will facilitate not only the auction company or the company that's running it, it'll give them all kinds of gauges and things that they can use in the back end, right?
Correct. That's one of the things that was a hot topic, as well as the SEOs and the analytics. And more people are starting to understand what it is. We have a full gamut of them, but to make sure that of which ones that people want, that they're the most useful for them,
So they can have a choice on how many they want.
Yep, which ones that they want to have pertinent to them, and which ones they don't want to have right in front of them.
So can they put their emails in there too, so they're protected from the outside world, so they don't get a bunch of scammers coming in each time?
Yep, that's part of the self-hosted.
Wow.
Is that you're running your email server.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell us?
Oh, there'll be lots more, but we need more time.
There'll be another series, I'll tell you.
I'm sure there will be, from the road, what I refer to as a roto emailer, to text messaging, to all kinds of different things. But we've tried to make this platform so that it does the most for you
as a business,
so that you don't have to have as many hands on doing it.
And if you were the business owner, what would you say are the greatest features that you would utilize for yourself in that platform?
As far as a business owner, period, the CRM capabilities are probably universally, as far as a business period, probably going to be across the board the easiest. Or what we refer to as a fleet, for IRA, we refer to it as fleet management, but your item management, both on the outside and inside, which I refer to, or the customer to staff. It's a really, that is a capability added that can add so much value to your time and to your customer's time.
Yeah.
That we feel that's kind of irreplaceable. Like I said, there's a lot more capabilities. If you're more willing, or if you're happy, I'd be more willing to come back and tell more.
Just let us know what you want to hear, right?
Yeah, right. But we were very well received, and I think that the industry sees us coming as making a huge impact for the auctioneer, and standing up basically for the auctioneer and their rights.
Yeah. So being an auctioneer, for an auctioneer, and keeping the auctioneer in his own business, and he'll own his own business, because an auctioneer basically is an entrepreneur.
Right.
And entrepreneurs are creative type thinkers, and they want to go out and do things their way, which is all great. And when you have the tools to do it, it even makes it greater. So, well, thank you, Troy. Anything else you'd like to tell the audience here before we end our podcast?
No. Well, one thing, we went so far as to make sure that we knew the auctioneer's point of view is that I'll be going to school for it. So.
Oh, you're going to go to auction college as well, huh?
Yeah. So we're going to make sure that.
Well, I went to college twice myself. I went to Worldwide Auction College, and then I went off to Championship Bid Calling College, and it was with Ralph Wade and Max Oliver and a bunch of the other boys that are pretty top in the notch in their fields and well respected. Let's put it that way. So again, thank you, Troy, for coming out here and sharing that with us. It was great talking to you, and it's great hearing from what you had to say about the International Auctioneers Association. But again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Equipment Talk from IRA, and we want to thank you for joining us.